What would a rhizomic rather than a so-called arboreal structure of the so-called media sphere be? So one thing that motivates this investigation is just the reflection that, like in no other time, we have a president who avowedly um, gets the gist of his understanding of things from a few news shows, Fox and Friends, and a few news shows. Yeah, certainly he has other interlocutors, but it's not clear how much he really listens to anybody. I think he may have a few people placed in key positions that he thinks are good, and then some other people like Hexeth or whatever that are just the PR people. But by and large, he doesn't. Uh, he thinks that whatever his strategy is all the more treacherous because it's concealed under all these mechanisms. So there is that, but I think his tack day to day is totally based on this media cycles, on this feedback loop, on this sort of cybernetic. I mean, that's a simple cybernetic thing, is the negative feedback loop, right? Like the control, the thermostat. A certain condition causes this negative response. Temperature leaves a certain range. Something flips, and then the heat starts moving in again. This type of feedback loop, understood as the executive in charge of enforcing all laws, or we should remember, law doesn't actually exist. So remember Kafka and Dostoevsky. Dostoevsky is Kafkaian when you think of him as saying the following thesis. We're in the cave, we're underground, but within the cave we have the truth and the beautiful, and the sky, and the abiding stability of eternity, and we're looking at it. But it's a cave vision. We know it's a cave vision, and so for this reason, then Kafka. For this reason, we could understand Dostoevsky as saying 1 times 1 is 2 is sometimes also something one can appreciate, because it's a breaking out of the total environment of the cave, which also comes with the cave visionary's vision, and we're one of the ones with the cave visionary's vision also. So it's a very difficult situation. Dostoevsky's, you could call it realism, in the same sense that there was a Nazi realism and a Soviet realism, but it's a realism that's, instead of being self-consciously atheist as the Soviet realist art was, it's considers itself spiritually realist also. It's a realism with also the addition of spiritual realism, and that spiritual realism is it's the feeling of being in a desperate situation, something like that. I mean, you see that say if you looked at the what's that book? It's the lead character is called the Whiskey Priest. I think it's Graham Greene. The what is it? The Glory and the something or other. But the sense of where all those issues come out in those tiny little conversations between the so-called whiskey priest and the communist in that book, for instance. But looked at this way, this small situation of the media feedback ignores all the realms of what about all the small podcasts and all the the first part, everything before that is about the Aborial and the hierarchical and this cybernetic system between Trump and the media, and he does something, they comment on it, he takes some direction from the comments, and then all the time he says ha 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 ha, but they don't know what I'm really up to, because then behind the scenes he has some purposes that he thinks it's more advantageous not to reveal to anyone except for a few insiders. But then against this, there's this so-called rhizomic media system, and then the question is how much efficacious power, as it were, or potential, is in the sort of rhizomes where networks that aren't that visible directly could have greater power somehow, maybe more staying power, or maybe sort of more sinewy in some sense, or that they could link up in such a way that probably all the people podcasting put all together is vastly more numerous than the audiences of the 12 top media sources. It's probably vastly larger. I haven't looked at that. I'm not sure what the proportion is. It seems to stand to reason. There's, I don't know, 4 billion people putting out media or something like that, or more. Obviously that's vastly more, even just taken crudely that way. I don't know exactly how many people are online regularly, but it's vastly more. So could a rhizomic form show up there? Could a form show up there in that rhizomic space of those billions that are all been subject to the divide and conquer of the Aborial logic?